Welcome to the new audio podcast with Thomas Gelmi. Take off now and boost your efficiency in leadership, teamwork, and customer contact. Today's topic is a matter of balance.
Do you sometimes get the impression that you are driven by all the things you need to achieve, you need to do, and you need to have accomplished by the end of the day? That one wave runs over you after the other? And have you ever asked yourself whether you are actually in balance or not? Maybe it's even obvious that you're not in balance. Well, like so many things in life, it is a matter of balance when dealing with stress, for instance. So it's a matter of balance between being on and being off. A matter of balance between doing and being. Between having the foot on the gas and between going idle. And you could ask yourself, are you a human doing or are you a human being? If we look at the various factors that have an influence on the experienced level of stress, one of them is the daily performance curve. Quite certainly you have already learned or experienced that you are not at the same level of performance all day long, but that instead your level of performance and concentration varies throughout the day. There is no typical or standard performance curve that is the same for everybody. There are some people that are more performing or performing better in the morning, and others that perform better in the evening hours. Regardless of that, there is variation in the level of performance throughout a day and especially throughout a working day. Now, what is the advantage of knowing your performance curve? Well, one of them is that you can allocate tasks that require a high level of concentration to times of the day in which you are high in your ability to perform, that you are high in your level of concentration. So how to find out what your performance curve looks like? There's a very simple method for that. You just simply take a sheet of paper and put it on your desk every day. And what you do is that you just list what you are currently doing, and besides that, next to that, you mark your level of performance, your perceived level of performance on a scale from 1 to 10. Or simply put, what am I currently doing and how do I feel? If you do that over a period of 1 or 2 weeks, you establish data based on which you can even visualize your performance curve and what it looks like. So as I said, ideally you can then use this information in order to choose when to do what. And you allocate high performance tasks into times of the day when you are actually able to perform at a high level. And in other times of the day, you put routine work, your routine tasks that you can complete without necessarily having to be highly focused or highly concentrated. Typically, the time period after lunch, when there is usually a drop in performance, would be a good moment to do some routine tasks that do not require a high level of concentration. Now, what can you do if you do not have this high level of choice, when you cannot choose when to do what, but you are rather externally driven? Well, then another thing you can do is to influence your performance curve in order to match the requirements of your working day. Now, what are the typical influencing factors that can change your performance curve over a day? One of them, and the most important one, of course, is sleep. The amount of sleep you get and the quality of sleep you get are among the highest productivity factors in the working environment. Most people require something between 7 and 9 hours of sleep in order to feel refreshed and recover from the working day. This can vary throughout a lifespan, so usually the older you get, the less sleep you need. And it could also make sense to just have a power nap sometimes throughout the day. After lunch, for instance, I sometimes do that by simply going to my car, sitting into my car and having a 10 minutes or 15 minutes nap. And I feel refreshed and can perform after that. So sleep is, of course, crucial. There are also sleeping patterns throughout the night, so we do not necessarily sleep at the same depth all through the night, but there's a curve there as well between deep slumber and light slumber. And there are, meanwhile, beautiful little apps that you can use, for instance, to measure the sleeping pattern and to let your alarm clock go off at a moment in which you are in a light slumber phase or closer to waking up, which will make it much easier for you to wake up in the morning, as opposed to being kicked out of sleep by your alarm clock when you're in a phase of deep slumber. So sleep is one crucial factor. Another one being nutrition, of course. If I have to work with a group of people in a seminar and in a workshop over a few days maybe, and I need to be really performing in the afternoon, I will, of course, choose a light meal over lunch rather than a heavy meal that will make me want to sleep after lunch. So nutrition is, of course, crucial as well. And a third aspect that you may want to consider is the amount of pauses you make throughout a day. It's obvious that if you don't make any pauses, but you go full throttle throughout the whole day, that the length, the duration of needed for your tasks and the quality also of your work will at some point suffer, as opposed to making regular pauses, maybe once an hour for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And the important thing here is that you change the mode, that you completely go out of the current working process and do something completely different. It doesn't really matter whether you go for a walk around the block, or you go for a coffee, or you just stand at the window and look out into the scenery. The important aspect is that you change your brain's mode from being in the doing mode into going idle, in order to create the balance that I initially said is so crucial. So whenever you feel stressed, whenever you feel like you're not in balance, ask yourself, what is my biggest need at the moment? What is my biggest desire or need that is currently not met? And who is able to provide this to me? Who is able to give that to me? Very often you will notice you yourself are the person who can meet that need if you take it seriously and listen to your own inner voice and your own needs. My wish for you is that this impulse will help you increase your personal effectiveness. Yours, Thomas Gelmi.